Well, good morning, folks. I'm Joe Wesley of the Joe Wesley and Lizzy Gabor podcast. She'll be on in a few moments. For those of you who are visiting us again, thank you very much for joining us. For those of you who are seeing us for the first time, we do sign in a little bit early to get things started just before the clock starts ticking. To let you know, it's informal, it's spontaneous, and for me, it's still confusing. Good morning, Lizzy. How are you doing?
Morning, folks. Hi, Joe.
So for those who are familiar with us, we do start a little bit early just to give you some background information about what we're all about. And what this comes down to, folks, is that Lizzy is recognized in her industry of being very good at what she does. And she's, I'll say, for lack of a better phrase, I've still yet to get it correct, a holistic coach. I think she says not quite that, or better perhaps. And besides being a certified yoga instructor, and what I've learned is one of the toughest schools of yoga one can possibly master. And she doesn't take lightly what she does. I'll say it like that in summary. But basically, what grabbed me about her, because I'm a left brain kind of guy, is the sense of success and wellness. I get that in my head, but I just don't get the yin and yang of mindfulness stuff. So we do these things 15 minutes every Thursday morning, barring Thanksgiving or some other holiday, that I'm trying to figure out what the who is she talking about. And so the protocol here is we don't rehearse, but I will send a question to her for her to examine. I really want to give her as much head start help as I can give her on the topic of the moment. And most of the time I can't even figure it out. But in this instance, this is a no-brainer. And I got to read it because it still doesn't make intrinsic sense. Excuse my shift to my computer on the side. And she says she begins her day routinely by activating her anti-stress armor. Now, she calls it something else, and she'll explain her version of it. This one I understand. It's like when I go to the beach on a hot summer day, I'm going to splash on or cream on my sunscreen so I don't get sunburned. And that's kind of how I see it. I mean, we could be through the conversation right now as far as I'm concerned, but I'm going to give Lizzy a chance to explain her version of it.
I love that, Joe. I love that. That is a very good analogy. It's yes, it's a protection.
Left brain, left
Yeah,
brain.
yeah. You got to protect your skin. I'm all about the sunscreen. Um, but it's something that I think for those folks out there that are sensitive like myself. I mean, I had to learn how to first of all start my day in a positive way, and I do a morning routine, so that for me for a long time it's been a non-negotiable of about an hour where I do 20 minutes of reading, 20 minutes of meditation slash prayer, and 20 minutes of moving my body, and then I added into it a dance song
Hmm.
because I want it kind of, and then a cold shower, which I didn't do yet today because I didn't have time, but I will do. And it's all about really setting my energy in a place where I can be most present, most able to take on whatever it is like help my clients. When they're kind of when I'm helping them through difficult things, there's a lot of energy that they're releasing, and I need to be careful not to, as a sensitive person, pick up on it because that's what I used to do. I used to
Mhm.
take it all in, and that would leave me feeling really depleted and a lot of times not in a good place. So
Mhm.
these are just they're things to do that you can do throughout your day to release any kind of things that you're picking up along the way of other people's energy, or if you just want to reset yourself so that you can kind of face your whatever it is in a higher state.
Now,
You know,
I hear that. I have a question. What comes to mind as I'm hearing you? You can, like you say, brush these things off. Does that mean I should be walking around with a clothes lint every day and just brushing things off that begin to bother me? Is that kind of how that works? Or a different technique?
that's one of them, sure. I mean, there's a lots of techniques,
Hmm.
but yeah, one of them is actually to mentally put on like a cloak. Some people refer to it as a cloak, or like that's how I think of it, like a big shawl that
Hmm.
protects my energy. So when I'm going into, say, um, uh, maybe a family affair that tends to be, a household that is kind of negative, I'm
Hmm.
protected. I have this shield on, or you can be like almost in a bubble. You can put yourself in a little bubble or a little egg visually, and trick yourself into feeling like you're protected, and you're not gonna and you're gonna brush off You're not going to take it in. It's not going
Hmm.
to become into a part of your, state. You know,
I hear that, and I'm intrigued by that. I'm thinking of the gladiator days, and you had the knights, and they would put on their vest, and they put on their sleeve protection and their thick gloves. Is there a protocol? Is there a formula that you use, or do you happenstance stumble over stuff that works, doesn't work? Is it trial and error? Is there a program or a pattern? I'm asking more than one question at one time, but
yeah, there's a lot of different techniques again. So one is, like you said, putting on that suit of armor or that cloak that's gonna, and then when you leave that place, you just kind of um, mentally take that thing off.
mm-hmm,
There's taking a light bath, which is again a visualization where you just kind of let yourself be showered with light, and just anything that you don't no longer that doesn't serve you just kind of goes back into the earth and transmuted, because it's just energy, and
mm-hmm.
it's just going to be transmuted. So it's not that you're not like sending negative energy into the world. You're just sending it out of you, and it's going to be transmuted just back into energy. There's actually, again, taking an actual shower,
Mm-hmm.
and letting, and I do this sometimes, and I just let the water wash away any of the negative thoughts, any of the negative things, let them go down the drain with my soap and with my shampoo.
Now you say soap and sand. The different types of soaps work, and this is in a figurative sense. Do you use different soaps for different wash-offs or something like that? I mean, how does that work?
No, but I do like candles. Like sometimes when I know I'm going to have a session, it's going to be a heated kind of session with the client. I will set the space also. Like I'll set off my space with a candle. I'll set the intention to be of service of the highest good. Um, you know, Things like that. There's a cutting the cord meditation I do. If you want to just if you're you have we have these ties to some negative energies, people in our lives that we want to cut that cord,
Well,
almost like,
I hear that, but I have a question for you. Like
yes.
only one. You
Mm-hmm.
talk about I get cutting negative energy, but if you have yet to go into that environment, do you anticipate
Mm-hmm.
energy is going to be? Let me phrase that. You see actresses that go to a night of the red carpet thing, and each time they walk out the door, they've got a different dress on. It seems. So, do you change your armor based on during the day duration, or you need to go out and get a smoke or something? I know you don't smoke a cigarette. You come back with a different armor. How adaptive is this? How does that
Like,
work?
and I have a lot of different tools in my tool belt, which I share with people, and so it
Hmm.
depends what resonates with a certain person. I
Okay.
mean, another thing you can just do is, again, just doing breath work, just taking some deep breaths, and as you exhale, just releasing, whatever is the noise going on in your mind, and just breathing. Water, again, washing your hands, and
Hmm.
really like just thinking of it as a mindful act, washing and letting whatever go into the sink.
Hmm.
Um, is a really good one. And then there's moving. So my dance song and shaking, just that's another one. Just shaking off whatever before you enter. I used to do this when I would be working outside of the house. Before I wanted to come into my house, I would want to shake off the day and just be able to come into my house. It's also good about workspace. Like I only will work here.
Hmm.
I'm not going to bring my work into the other parts of my house, especially now working from home. I
Right.
keep it here in this space,
Okay.
and I don't, I really don't do anything else in this room except for work, and I don't bring my work into like my bedroom or into the kitchen or
I
stuff
hear
like
that.
yeah.
Now you say shake off stuff. What comes to mind there is when the dog comes in from the rain and you want to get out the room because you know they're going to shake off all that water. Should I get my if I were in your presence and you're shaking things off? Should I clear the area and wait for you?
Yes, no, I think that animals are amazingly good at that. Like when they have something that startles them, then they shake it off and they're like back. And I think we are similar. That we can do that too.
Now, do you actually do is it in your head
No,
primarily? Do you actually
no,
do one of
it's a
those things?
physical. It's a physical, really shake. Yeah, shake. Yes, it's a physical shake. It's actually an ancient technique that's been around for thousands of years. That people would do that to literally just shake off things and just
Interesting.
and not in a dance way. But I also do think that dance is another form of
Hmm.
a nonverbal way of just releasing stored energy that you want to let go of.
Okay. Well, I know you say you like to dance. And so I guess that is that part of your preemptive shaking or your post-effect shaking? Does it work in either side of the coin?
Well, it's funny because the actual technique that I do and that I was taught is to shake first, really, and I've done this. I did it for 40 days for 40 minutes in the morning. I would shake, and it was powerful. But after that, after you shake, then you put on a song. Usually it's a Bob Marley song. That's how I was taught, and then you just kind of dance to it, and you just feel that you're in your body. You're not in your head anymore. You're inhabiting your body, and I think a lot of us are only living from here up. So it's about grounding yourself into your whole body, and so yeah, it's usually the shake and then the dance.
I see. Now, do you also do a
I do
visual?
that every day now.
Do you also do a visualization? Like you imagine to yourself, my body is silicon, it's Teflon. You imagine water beaches zinging down past you. Do you do things like that as part of your routine also?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that, like I was saying, like a light bath. That's one of the things. I just imagine like light coming into my head, first going over my body, then going all through my body, lighting up, renewing, recharging all my cells, and it's just, I mean, they're little things, but the visualization techniques are, because the thing is, our body doesn't know the difference between what we're visualizing and what's actually happening. So we can use that to our advantage, rather than the opposite, which we do, which is when we catastrophize and think about all the, horrible things, and our body feels that stress. So
I hear that.
It's about letting go, like releasing that cortisol it happens when we either pick up on energy or we are stressed about something. So it's releasing that.
Right.
And
You
so
said
so we come back to balance, back to homeostasis, back to that rest and restore state that keeps us healthy.
I
And
see.
keeps that.
Now you use the word cortisol. Yes, did you say that a few moments ago? For those of you who don't know what cortisol is, it's an agent in your body, chemically made, that helps you to deal with stress, good or bad, depending on how it works. So just a little bit of information. Now you talk about visualizing your. Pardon?
Thank you, Dr. Wesley.
So hey, I'm not one of those ephemeral kind of guys or ladies. I need to know what we're talking about here, and along that line. You talk about visualize what's happening for the moment in terms of charging yourself up. Would it help if I stand near an electrical outlet plug thing that I'm now getting energized by this plug next to me? How far do I go on my imagination or visualization technique? I won't put my finger in the socket. Not that far.
Recommend that. Yeah, I don't recommend that. For sure. No.
But I'm assuming the more you get into it, the more helpful. But I don't know. Should I stand next to a plug to charge myself up as part of my vision?
How about just start with breathing? Just take some intentional deep breaths, breathing in, goodness, breathing in calm, breathing in peace, and breathing out the bad stuff. Whatever the negative thoughts are or the stress, breathing that out. That's a really good way to start. And just to make that a point of doing that a couple times during the day. Again, take a shower and have it be a cleansing shower where it's like anything you want to let go of gets released and down into the drain. Take a cold shower, which that I talk about all the time.
True.
To really activate your ability to deal with discomfort, so that it's about. I mean, for me at least, personally, but I think what I'm striving for is like to really have equanimity, to be balanced, like so that when either good things or bad things happen, I can just stay kind of in that eye of the hurricane and not be shaken by either one, because all these things are going to happen. There's a lot of things going on in the world events that are going to happen that we're going to be having to deal with. So equanimity to me is kind of where I like to land. I like to stay, but it's not easy. You get, it's like a seesaw. You're off and going off on one side. So, it's the other. It's not like. So.
Well, then that brings to mind another concept to me that I understand the preparation concept, and you start your day off in a certain upbeat zone, I'm assuming. But do you have a little tidbit? Rephrase that. I have chronic sinus condition. So I always carry tissue with me just as a habit. And most of the time I don't have to use it, but if I do use it, I'm not using my sleeve. I can pull out my tissue. So do you keep little tissues of cleansing that you get caught unexpectedly in something, and you just have to take out the tissue box and yank it out the packet and cleanse your face or cover your face. I may not be saying it correctly, but does that make sense? So you keep little momentary things in reserve with you in case you have to meet an expected moment.
Um, yeah, I try to just stay grounded again, but also I would recommend to people, you know, first thing in the morning, don't put on the news. Don't
Mm-hmm.
put on the news. Don't take your phone out by it before 9 a.m. And start looking at social media. You
Mm-hmm.
know, if you want to set yourself up for a good day, don't watch the news right before bed. You know, put your phone away at night. Don't have it with you in your bed, which a lot of people do. So I mean, those are just some things that easy things people can do to avoid starting their day or ending their day in that negative cycle.
Yes.
And you know, the tissues are I keep the tissues are good too.
or wipes. But my wife, she's good about, certainly with COVID now, she keeps always a little thing you squirt on your hands to wipe your hands to protect yourself against possible picking up infection syndrome.
It's similar. That's a similar kind of thing as like what I was saying, to either put yourself in that protective bubble or egg shaped thing before
Mm-hmm.
you enter into a place that might be germy, or
Mm-hmm.
and or again, that protective kind of cloak, or just when you get out of there, you energetically let it go, release that energy that was in that place, or that
I,
germ
I
germ
understand.
spore.
That sounds good, and I appreciate that. Folks, one of the things we haven't really talked about, Lizzy, maybe we'll want to do that, is end each session with a pearl of the day, you might say. Lizzy always ends up in closing a thought to take home with, but we might better emphasize that at the beginning for those that don't understand the value. You got to stay with us the whole 15 minutes to get the whole value of what we're doing. Yes?
Yes, yes. And again, like, think about your body as like like you were saying, as far as the light, the plug, you know, that needs to be recharging it with positive energy, you know, throughout your day, um, in order to stay calm and stay out of that stress, chronic stress that is really a new pandemic, I think.
Okay, I hear that. And I thank you for your input, folks. Thank you for joining us. We didn't do a commercial break this time. We'll get it in next time.
Mm.
But from moi, Joe Wesley, goodbye and thanks for joining us.
Lizzy Gabor, thanks so much.
And have a good day.
Take good
Share
care,
your
everybody.
share your comments, folks, please, with us and with other people.